Next in the Hermes series is what I'm going to call the Hermes Woods. Now I'm including in here Vetiver Tonka, which vetiver I know is a grass, but I would still say gives a woody, outdoorsy impression. If I could say one thing that sums all of them up, it's that they're extremely elegant and refined. There's no harsh woody ambers, there's no smokiness or bitterness or scratchiness to any of these woods. They're all super smooth. So I'll start with Vetiver Tonka, maybe one of the best known and talked about from the whole line. What really impresses me, again, like most of the Jean-Claude Elena creations, is the perfect balance between two opposing ingredients. So you've got a creamy, nutty, sweet Tonka that's contrasted against a very sharp and sour vetiver. I must say it's one of the first fragrances where I really experienced the sensation of sourness, but here it really works to kind of cut through the potential sweetness and thickness of the Tonka. Just like in a good meal, heavy fatty foods are really brightened up with a squeeze of lemon, some citrus. So there's no citrus here, but the vetiver has a very sour aspect, a very fresh green aspect. It's not the sort of super grassy, earthy, dirty vetiver that you get in some other fragrances. But the impression it leaves as a whole, again, is super, super smooth. And combined, they almost give an impression of leather, of that fine Hermes, really soft, new handbag leather smell. Of course, not as realistic or straightforward leather as Cuir d'Ange, but I sense that as kind of a through line throughout the line, which makes sense since it's a brand that's known for its leather goods. But yeah, I just think ultra elegant, well-dressed gentleman, but also it's not so fancy that it couldn't be worn every day. Performance is moderate. I think it's one of the better performing ones, but like all of them, it doesn't project a lot. It stays close to the skin, but due to the maybe heavier base ingredients of vetiver, it lasts pretty well. But yeah, I like it. I can't think that I've smelled other things like it that I think came after that maybe were riffing on this. There's the Eldo, what's the one about the plumber? I forget the name of it right now. And there's a Byredo that smells like a weak, watered down, sad copy of Vetiver Tonka, but this still does it the best. Yeah, it's one of those that I feel like if I had to choose only one or two, it's definitely the kind of thing that I could wear as a signature scent. Next up, Poivre Samarcande. This, again, really easy wear, maybe the easiest wear, most likable for a kind of mainstream masculine, if that's what you're going for. Woody, diaphanous, transparent, peppery. Obviously it's called pepper. And the one thing you have to be careful though is there is a bit of a cumin note in the spice blend here. I had an experience of asking somebody to smell it on my wrist and they said, I don't detect the fragrance, but I smell your BO. And I said, no, I just showered. That is the fragrance. So be careful with this in summer. I think in summer you're more likely to get accused of that than in winter. I really like this. I've yet to buy a bottle because I got this as a sample with a few other fragrances. I feel like I have quite a few ml. But again, it's the kind of thing I could easily see as being a lovely daily wear. It's woody, but it's very fresh, cedary. Like I said, it kind of floats around you like a lot of Jean-Claude Elena, and a very strong pepper note at the beginning. But yeah, there's more than just pepper. There's a little bit of that cumin, but to me that gives it a nice warmth in the base. I wouldn't call it skanky or body odor in general compared to the way some other fragrances use cumin. My other mini, Agar Ebene, again, their take on oud, although it's agar, it doesn't claim to be oud. It's agar wood. Again, ultra smooth. I remember trying this early in my interest in fragrance and just thinking it smelled like the most expensive, smooth, luxurious, dark suede leather, like the kind that has like a real nubby texture to it. Again, there's a pleasant sweetness, as I always say about Nagel, that if Jean-Claude Elena has an airiness, she has a plushness. So it feels like you can almost rub your hands through it. Like if she was a designer, her fabrics would be like velvet, suede, where Jean-Claude would be, I don't know, like silk or linens, or cotton voile, very light, diaphanous things. So they wear light in different ways. But it's beautiful. If you want something dark and woody and smoother, I have a really strong memory of trying this around the beginning of the pandemic and finding it such a nice comforting fragrance, and spraying it on and going out for a walk and smelling it in the fall air. Then the third wood, Santal Massoia. This, again, more of maybe the freshest out of these. Really leans heavily onto fig to give the creaminess that's associated with sandalwood. This is also maybe the lightest wearing of them all. But again, with all the light wearing fragrances, they're deceptively long lasting. You'll get wafts of them throughout the day. You're just not constantly aware of them. You're not constantly being battered over the head with the smell. I think the first time I wore it, really all I got was fig, but the more I've worn it, I pick up more and more of the nuances, more of the woody nuances. So it's not a sweet fig, it's not a bright fig. It's, the creaminess of fig melding into woods, into sandalwood. I'm not sure if there's really any real sandalwood in this. My impression from other sandalwood forward fragrances like Bois des Îles is that this doesn't smell, I don't smell any connection between those two things. So it's a very different take on sandalwood. But yeah, again, Jean-Claude, I think, makes the illusion of a third thing that's the result of the interaction of the two things. So we have the creaminess of fig with some other woody materials, some spices that combine to give an impression of sandalwood, which, while I'm on the topic, I think was the subject of Rosé Cuir for Frederic Malle. There's neither rose nor real leather, because a leather distillation doesn't exist, but through the collision of something like a geranium and the IBQ leather note, combined they create something like a leather rose. Anyway, that's what I really like about it. They're so well blended. You can tell the two materials, but they combine to create a single smell that's new. I especially feel that way about Vetiver Tonka. There's something really unique and interesting about the way these two materials combine, because I think they're the most contrasted, whereas here there's not so much contrast as just different facets. The vetiver and the tonka in this feel like they're really two opposite poles that are complementing each other to create a new and really interesting third thing. As always, the leathers or the colors are perfect. I feel like the green is like the sourness of the vetiver here, and the nuttiness of the tonka is really well represented by this kind of brown, just like the softness of the leather they put on the Santal and that particular gray-brown hue. It's perfect. It's perfect. Same with Agar Ebene. That almost purplish brown is something I associate with the way these smell. So if you want very elegant, easy wearing, not smoky, not harsh, woody fragrances, I think any of these could be worn daily. Any of these could be worn in lots of situations. They could be worn very formally because they're so elegant, but also they're not such big fancy feeling perfumes that you'd feel weird just wearing it daily in jeans and a t-shirt. These are really worth a try.